It was 5:13 on a beautiful sunny afternoon in June. I walked over a large black hospital doormat as the automatic sliding doors decisively parted for me to enter. I walked up to the elevator and pressed the illuminated button. As the button changed color, I worried about what I might find when I reached the hospital room. He was still breathing when I got there. The kind of shallow breathing that could barely lift a tissue if placed over his dehydrated face. From across the room, our eyes met. Only this time, his deep hazel eyes didn't communicate the kind of thundering confidence that I was used to seeing. No, this time, in the long gaze of his eyes, I saw the terror of fear and the pain of regret. There was one more thing though, a message. A message I could read loud and clear. And the message said, "Do not make the mistakes that I have made. You must follow your dreams and turn your potential into something." In other words, what you can become, you must become. Now, this was the last time I saw my father alive, but I want to tell you a little bit about how we got to this place. My mother had created an incredible career for herself in her industry. So when I was born, my parents decided that my mom would be continuing to support the family financially and my dad would stay at home and take care of me. My dad was working on becoming a writer, so staying at home really wasn't a problem for him. And so for as long as I can remember, I had a stay-at-home dad. Now, he was the kind of dad that would pick me up from soccer practice, pick me up from school, make me dinner out of whatever random ingredients he found in the fridge, and usually let me watch the kind of stuff that my mom definitely would not approve of. Actually, one time, I remember him telling my mom that he was going to take me to go see the new Spider-Man movie that had just come out starring Tobey Maguire. Instead, we got to the theater, we bought our traditional pack of Twizzlers. I definitely get my sweet tooth from my dad. Walked into a dark room that definitely did not say Spider-Man on the top of it, and the movie we were actually there to see began. Yegzmesh, my name Borat. My dad took a 9-year-old to go and see Borat. Seeing the lights flickering off his face, I look up to him and he looks back at me and says, "Don't tell your mother." He then gave me a reassuring wink and we went on to learn how Borat's sister is #2 prostitute in all of Kazakhstan. Things went on like this and were really good for a long time. My dad was genuinely my best friend and my role model. One main feature my dad had though, and my mom continues to tell me to this day, is that he was a procrastinator. He was a truly amazing guy, but he would put things off like no other. One day, after high school, I was taking the always packed number 99 bus home from school, and Dad was talking about a new friend that he had coincidentally just met. We'll call him Jay. Jay had essentially approached my dad and asked him if he wanted to become rich. Now, obviously most people would see the peculiarity in this, but maybe always picking me up from soccer practice and doing the traditional soccer mom things around all of them eventually frustrated him to a point where he could just look past how weird this situation was where a guy approached him, I think it was in a mall, approached him and said, "Hey, do you want to get rich?" In retrospect, my dad probably just wanted to finally feel like the man of the house instead of always feeling like my mom was, which is no fault of my mom's, but that's the way my dad probably felt. And here is when things begin to take a turn for the worse. Dad began working with Jay. And look, what working means, I really can't tell you. To this day, me and my mother both have no idea what they were doing. All I know is that maybe after a year or so, he would come home super amped up every night telling us about how he was going to either change the world, change our bank account, or internally definitely change his own ego, feel a little bit better because he was about to be the millionaire of the household, or so he thought. Up until this point in his life, he had procrastinated on so many good ideas. He had so many good ideas, but he would never put them into action, always procrastinating. Until finally he meets this guy Jay and he's working with him and it looks like he's actually, I don't know, taking action, maybe. Weekly, he would come home and he would tell us, "Guys, just you wait. There's gonna be millions rolling into the bank account. We're gonna be multi-millionaires. Stuff's gonna happen. We're doing crazy things at work." And he was genuinely 100% convinced. It got to a point where myself and my mom were getting frustrated because he had been saying this at this point for months, going on years, getting to a point where nothing was changing and he'd been working with Jay for I don't know how long at this point. So after months and months of seeing this bright face come home and tell us that millions were just 7 days around the corner, one day, Dad had to stop working. The reality was that something really terrible was happening inside of his body. One morning, he decided to go to the hospital because he felt a shoulder pain, something in his back, something in his shoulder, and he went to the hospital to see what it was. Hours later, he would have a diagnosis for an incredibly aggressive cancer. The doctor would actually explain to us that it was the kind of cancer that didn't make sense to just appear naturally. It's the kind of thing that they see when someone's either working in a nuclear plant without any protection or living on the surface of the sun. So what did this all mean? Dad didn't work anywhere like that or so we thought. We would later discover that Jay had placed an active industrial strength X-ray machine that sat right behind my father in the office that Jay had set up himself. And this was the place, day in and day out, for weeks and months and years, that these two worked. This then would force my father's liver to develop a cancer so strong that there really were no available interventions. Thankfully, even though it was painful and uncomfortable, my father only really suffered for a few months. The illness would move so swiftly that he went from a 5'9", healthy 170-pound man to a 5'9" man weighing just under 70 pounds. And this would happen within a matter of weeks. He lost his appetite, he lost his strength, then went his mobility, and finally, he lost his hope. We had all accepted that he was about to die, and so we decided to move him to a hospital where they could make him as comfortable as possible for the last moments he had before he passed on. Richard Graham Patton would breathe his last breath on a beautiful sunny afternoon in June. This man died a beloved father, a beloved husband, a beloved friend, and a procrastinator. Now, you're probably asking yourself a few questions. Why did Jay do this? What incentive could Jay have to do this? You might ask, where is Jay now? He committed a crime, did he not? Where is he now? You're also probably asking yourself a few other details about the story, which I understand and I will explain in future videos. But the harsh reality is a lot of this story comes in broken pieces. They come from past public criminal records of Jay doing this to other families with different incentives, warped stories that my father would come home and tell myself and my mother, which were probably because of Jay's deceptions, and they also come from Jay's own testimonies. But regardless of some of the question marks that you may have, or even myself and my mother still have about parts of this story, one thing remains the same. If you procrastinate your life away, one day you're going to get to your last day and realize all you did was procrastinate. On your final day, your son will look into your eyes and see the same thing that I saw in my father's: the terror of fear and the pain of regret. I am making this video today to tell you where must become came from. This is not another self-help channel that is trying to encourage you to do things so that you can buy products from the person. This is both a message to young people to get their acts together and a way to honor my late father with what I believe is the way we should lead our lives. Take action on the potential within you and become someone worth remembering. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is an obligation, and what you can become, you must become.